Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Glass Seats podcast, where two hockey aficionados discuss their perspectives on headlines surrounding the NHL, including recent stories, game highlights, league culture, and other topics trending amongst the fans. I'm Viddy.
And my name is Mrinal, and this week, hockey is bubbling.
It sure is.
Do you feel the tension building?
Too much, both in the playoffs, in the Bedard race, and whatever else. Like the awards race.
We got
everything.
About a week left in the season. I think today is Thursday, April 6th. Mm-hmm. It's ending next Friday. Mm-hmm. So just about a week left.
Yeah, about 4 to 6 games left per team.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Lottery odds are not set.
Mm-hmm.
Wild cards are not set.
Mm-hmm.
A lot to play for this week here, and right up to the end of the season here. And I'm ready for the playoffs, man. I want it.
Are you biting your nails off yet? Are you nervous?
No, I saved that for Game 7.
Right, of course. Of course, yeah.
But I can feel the tingles.
Good.
The tingles.
Good. I'm glad. As it should be. That's what NHL hockey's all about.
Yeah. And, we're coming up here on the end of the season, so I think this episode we're going to take a look at some of the end of the season awards, get some predictions going, a couple other stories to follow up on. So it should be a full episode this week. Shall we dive right into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's start with the end of the season awards. There's a bunch of them here. We're going to go through them one by one.
Sure.
The way we're going to do this, I asked you to prepare your list of who you want to win these awards, and then tell me. Mm-hmm. So I think we'll go through. We'll alternate. I'll start with one, then you start with one, and we can have a little debate going.
Yeah.
There are, how many of these? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of these. Mm-hmm. So let's try and keep each one a little bit short, keep it moving here.
Sure, yeah.
We're going to start with the Masterton Trophy. Mm-hmm. This is awarded for dedication to hockey, typically given to a player who's, come back or battled from injury, or someone who has gone through like longevity. Mm-hmm. In 2022, it was awarded to Carey Price, who had some rehab issues and things like that, and came back and played last year. So for 2023, who did you have for this trophy?
I'm going to have to go with Jonathan Toews. Everyone knows that he's been, well, for those who don't know, he's been battling long COVID, which basically means elongated COVID symptoms. So even though he's not COVID positive, he has been still dealing with the symptoms and it's affecting his ability to skate. I believe he missed all of last season because of it. So he's been back. He recently came back. He's skating and everything, but I think he hasn't fully decided yet, but I think he's gonna be hanging them up pretty soon. But just to even battle back from that, and just to celebrate the illustrious career he's had, I think the Masterton's going to him.
Yeah, and the fact that he came back and got into game shape, not just practices, he was playing games. That was impressive. So definitely a good nod there. Mm-hmm. For me, I went a different direction. I went for kind of longevity, and I gave it to Marc-Andre Fleury.
Really? Okay.
For this will be his 17th consecutive season in the playoffs.
That's crazy.
Which is a record amongst goalies. Mm-hmm. And it's almost to the overall record. The overall record is 20, which is held by Nick Lidstrom and one other player. It was Nick Lidstrom and Larry Robinson. Mm-hmm. So he's 3 off the overall record for consecutive playoff appearances, which is impressive.
Yeah.
So for that one, and I think Fleury kind of doesn't get his due sometimes.
No.
He did get a Vezina. But, he's had a very long career, very successful career, so this one's going to him.
I think, very, very quick side note, I think the fact that, a lot of people dismiss Fleury because of his couple bad years in Pittsburgh, those years aside, he's done some unreal stuff with his hockey career, and people forget he was a number 1 overall draft pick.
Yeah.
How often does a goalie go number 1 overall?
Yeah.
I mean, again, not to, say, he was amazing straight from the draft or whatever, but, he's definitely... He's shaped the Penguins to what they are, and he's built Vegas, or he's helped to build Vegas into what they are. And give the man his respect, basically.
Yeah, and Minnesota's having a great season this year too.
Yep.
So, yeah, Marc-Andre Fleury.
Gotcha.
Shall we move along here? Next award here is the Mark Messier Award, awarded for outstanding leadership in the NHL. In 2022, it was given to the Anze Kopitar, captain of the Kings. Mm-hmm. For 2023. I decided to give this to Nico Hischier, captain of the New Jersey Devils. Okay. Brand new captain, fairly young, but that team has been impressive. Mm-hmm. They've kind of finishing out their rebuild here. They're getting into the playoffs, and I think Hischier's really growing into that role of a captain. So he was my pick for the Mark Messier Award.
Gotcha. Yeah, I had to go with Patrice Bergeron, and honestly, a lot of people have strong feelings, let's say, against
Yeah.
Boston. But the constant number one name that always comes up but he's an exception, is Patrice Bergeron. And I think that there's a reason for that. Like, for example, this year, he's been wearing the C since Chara left, or Chara retired. And he's been like going above and beyond to, do things for his teammates too. He's been checking in on the mental health of teammates, which in the NHL is, mental health is barely even a thing. It's more of a just tough it out and, how bad do you want it kind of deal. So for him to do that as a captain for his own teammates, that's a good captain right there. That's leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's been a big leader in Boston for a long time, but he was never the captain just because they had Chara there. And I think with what the Bruins have done this year, it's incredible to see. They're like 20 points clear of second place right now, something like that. It's wild.
Yeah.
Absolutely stellar season by the Bruins.
Next, what are you thinking of for the GM of the year? The Jim Gregory Award. I believe Sakic won it in 2022.
Oh, yeah.
And what do you got for this year?
For me, sticking with the Bruins theme, I went with Don Sweeney. What that he's done with that team and what they've achieved this year, and then to go to the trade deadline and add on, and not just anything, that's Dmitry Orlov and Garnet Hathaway, who have been great adds to Boston, just made that team better. Fantastic job. And honestly, the GM of the year is kind of an award like, does it really matter unless you win something?
That's true.
But they've clinched that President's Trophy, and I think they deserve the recognition for that.
Yeah.
Or Don Sweeney deserves that recognition.
I agree. I'm going to have to go with Tom Fitzgerald, New Jersey Devils, because I do honestly think that the Devils are a little bit of a sleeper candidate for a deep run in the playoffs. And if you've seen, again, with Nico Hischier being named captain and other deals throughout the year, including the Timo Meier trade, I feel like they somewhat fleeced the Sharks on that a little bit.
I don't know, man. Meier has been questionable in Jersey.
Well, I mean, I think he's still getting used to the team, but still, from a transaction standpoint, you can't really argue with that. And the fact that they were able to clinch the playoffs, not just by a hair, but like actually, it feels like they actually have a real solid foot in the door this year. I mean, that says a lot, and you can't really argue with the success of that.
Well, I think we'll see. I think that's a bit of a out there take, if I had to be honest. All
right.
When you've got GMs like, Joe Sakic, who won it last year, is managing the Avalanche and keeping them relevant. What Edmonton's done. Granted, I think Edmonton's taken a lot longer than they could have.
Yeah.
So I can see why for GM people might be hesitant.
Yeah.
Even someone like David Poile, who sold at the deadlines and suddenly now the Predators are in the wild card hunt.
Yeah.
But I think that's a bit of an out there take, but I'd be interested to see how that one works out.
Yeah, fair enough.
Jack Adams, this is awarded to Coach of the Year. Who do you got?
I got Jim Montgomery, Boston. I mean,
Okay.
I believe this is his first season. I think Bruce Cassidy was relieved last summer in the offseason, and I mean, do we need to say more? Look at the standings. Look at what he's done to an already amazing Boston team. It's just absolute dominance. Almost like, again, like hopefully I don't want to like jinx anything, but like the President's Trophy curse is real. But I mean, look at how dominant they are this year.
Yeah,
and the coaching has to do with that. So
the last time we saw a team this dominant though was Tampa. They got swept by
I know,
Columbus.
yeah,
So
4 years ago. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see, but
yeah,
absolutely. I think he's done a great job with that team.
How about you?
For me, sure, he did a great job with Boston, but they've got a solid roster too. True. I think someone who's kind of flowing under the radar, because I think with a lot of these awards, there's a bit of a recency bias for the end of the season.
Yeah.
But if we look at how the Seattle Kraken started this season and how they continue to play, sure, results have been a little iffy in the second part of the season, but they were so strong in the first half of the season, and I love watching their games because, there's no one player that takes over. There's no McDavid, there's no Pasternak, there's no McKinnon. But they all play together, and they're all on the same system. You can see that they know where they're going to be. They know what the plan is. And I think that's giving props to Dave Haxtell, head coach of the Seattle Kraken.
Yeah.
So I think that's my pick for the Jack Adams.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a great pick. Again, as you said with Seattle, they have been, really inconsistent at times, but, like you can't really argue with the success, especially compared to last year where they weren't even close to a playoff spot. And now they honestly might clinch tonight. So let's see. You can't even argue with the coaching success at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving along here. We're going on to the Lady Byng. This is offered to the most gentlemanly player. In 2022, it went to Kyle Connor of the Winnipeg Jets. And my pick, I think, was no contest, was Anze Kopitar of the LA Kings.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, let me just read you the stat line. 68 points in 78 games, 4 penalty minutes. 4.
That's crazy, yeah.
As a top player on the LA Kings.
Yeah.
Who are not afraid to hit and get in there. But he's been looking good. LA has a bunch of young kids. Kopitar's been keeping up. He's been leading that squad. And you can see it. 4 penalty minutes. He's showing them how to play.
Yeah.
And he's just under a point a game. 68 points in 78 games is the stat line. I think it's far and away, that's Kopitar's award this year.
Yeah, you're probably right. Truthfully, I don't know if I have a prediction for that one. But 4 penalty minutes? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's got to go to Kopitar.
Cool.
For the Calder, Rookie of the Year, there's been a lot of options that you could pick for him, but I think there's one and above, kind of like Kopitar. Who do you got?
I took Matty Beniers out in Seattle.
Same.
Yeah, I think that one's no contest. He has become a part of that Seattle's core. 54 points in 78 games for him, 4th in scoring in Seattle. Yeah, I think that's Matty Beniers' trophy.
Hot take, I don't even think Seattle's in a playoff spot without that man.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. Actually, I don't even know if that's a hot take. I think that might be common sense at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Seattle's been really good this year and quite a big turnaround from last year, and I think Matty Beniers has been a huge part of that. So
I agree.
That's his.
Yep, gotta agree with that one.
All right, coming on here to the big awards. Selke Trophy. This was awarded to the best defensive forward in 2022. It was given to Patrice Bergeron of the Boston Bruins. This award has kind of been nicknamed the Bergeron Award with how many times he's won it. Who do you got in 23?
I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say Patrice Bergeron. Yeah, Yep. They're going to rename the award eventually to his name, and I'm not betting against him. Come on, like that's at this point, I know better to not bet against him for that award.
Yeah, I think the Selke is one of those awards where like you have to become a Selke person, and then it kind of goes to them. Like Bergeron's one of them. Kopitar's another one.
Yeah.
Mark Stone in Vegas, who didn't play this year, unfortunately, was another one.
Yeah.
But I went a little out of left field on this one. Tell me what you think. Mitch Marner for Selke.
Why is that?
He plays on the top penalty kill unit in Toronto. He's got 95 points, 4 shorthanded goals. Second in the league, only to JT Miller in Vancouver, who is not good defensively 5-on-5, but somehow plays on the PK for some reason. But
Fair.
I think Mitch Marner has upped his game defensively. When you watch Leafs games, you see him take over on both sides of the puck. I think he's been phenomenal. The one ding against him, he's not a center, so he doesn't take faceoffs, which is a huge part of defensive play in hockey. But, other wingers have entered the conversation like Mark Stone. I think Mitch Marner should be in that conversation, and I'd give it to him this year.
Okay, yeah. I see that. I personally can see him being a nominee. But at the end of the day, I do think Patrice Bergeron still got that one in the bag. So, yeah, I guess we'll see in June.
Yeah. All right. This next one's one of my favorite awards, the Norris Memorial Trophy. I love watching defensemen. Some of my favorite players to watch. So this award is for the best defenseman in the NHL. For me, I know there's been a lot of noise about Erik Karlsson getting close to 100 points, but I think that's only half the game. That's only the offensive side of the game, and for that, I can't really give it to Erik Karlsson. I'm going to go with Josh Morrissey in Winnipeg.
Okay, gotcha.
So he's been good offensively. He's been good defensively. He's got the Jets in a fight. Honestly, if the Karlsson wasn't on the Sharks, would they be any different? They're kind of at the bottom of the league anyway. For that reason, I think Morrissey has had more of an impact with his play, and that's why I'd give him best defenseman.
I'm going to trace back a little bit to what you said earlier, and you said this was one of your favorite trophies.
Yeah.
I'm going to be totally honest with you. This is one of my least favorite trophies.
Because
I do not... It's honestly throwing a dart into the middle of nowhere and hoping you hit the target, because... I voted Erik Karlsson for this, and because of his offensive ability. And at this point, I feel like the Norris Trophy, especially the past couple of years, has just gone to the defenseman who can score a bunch of points. Yeah. And so I want to say Adam Fox will win it, but I think it's going to go to Erik Karlsson just because of what this trophy means now these couple of years.
Well, put it this way: I don't think the point of this exercise is to predict who's going to win it. And I think you're right. most of these voters, I think, just look at the point score and say, who's at the top? Oh, it's Erik Karlsson. Who
Yeah.
cares that he's minus 20 something?
Yeah.
Who cares that, every time you watch him play, he's basically up the ice with the forwards and one defenseman's back.
Yeah.
Which is, I can go on a whole rant about why he shouldn't be the offensive defenseman, but
Yeah.
I want to see, why do you think Adam Fox? Because I think that's more interesting. Why do you think Adam Fox is the best defenseman this year?
So I think the reason they are, or he should be winning it is, given, sure, we all know the Rangers are, especially post trade deadline, they're an offensive powerhouse. But, going along with not going to spoil it or anything, but a possible Vezina candidate in Igor Shesterkin. Just him and with Igor and Adam Fox, if you watch them together, Igor's in the crease, but watching them together, they provide a very solid backbone for the offense of the Rangers to kind of go do their own thing, get a little bit creative, kind of like try some unconventional strategies out. And I mean, when you have that kind of offensive power, it's almost similar to Toronto at this point. You kind of have to just give credit where credit's due. Adam Fox has done an amazing job defending that blue line. From a purely defensive standpoint, I don't know how you can really argue that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on it, but I do think it's going to go to Erik Karlsson. Yeah.
No, I love that comment about how together with the goalie they provide this backbone, and I think you're absolutely right. Hockey's such a big team sport, and it's a great transition. What you were saying about the Vezina.
Yeah.
Which goes to the best goalie in the NHL. Shesterkin won it last year.
Yep.
You have him again this year?
I am going to have to give it to Linus Ullmark of the Boston Bruins. I have seen there's some people not people, but some media outlets kind of criticizing him, saying, oh, he's kind of new, he's kind of fresh, he's done amazing stuff with Boston in the regular season. Let's see how he is in the playoffs. But I mean,
hey, this is a regular season.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Or doesn't count the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, going back to when you said Tampa got swept in 2019, they still cleaned the award show in Vegas.
Yeah, deservedly.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't really argue with that at this point. I look at his dominance this season. I don't have his save percentage pulled up, but can you really argue it at this point? They're 20 points ahead in the league race and in the President's Trophy spot. How are you going to argue at this point? He also provides that very solid backbone that for Boston to do their thing.
Yeah. If you were going to argue Linus Ullmark, I'd say, it's because he has all these star players in front of him. Charlie McAvoy, Patrice Bergeron, David Pastrnak. And that's what I thought when I started researching this, right? Then I looked at the numbers and I'm like, no, it's Linus Ullmark. He's also my pick because he is in the top amongst the leaders in save percentage. He's amongst the leaders in goals saved above average, which is a stat that measures if you put in the league average goalie, how many goals is your goalie saving above that? So he is one of the league leaders in that, which means in spite of what Boston's doing in front of him, on average, he is saving more goals than would be expected out of a league average goaltender. Right. And a lot more goals. Right. So, yeah, you absolutely agree. It's Ullmark's trophy.
Yeah, and to go back to the winner last year, Igor Shesterkin, the Rangers, forwards weren't as built up as they are, this year, but again, provides a very solid backbone for the forwards to kind of go do their thing and, try unconventional plays, whatever you want to call it. I don't know how you can argue with that. He's stopping pucks, and that's what a Vezina winner does. Yeah. I don't know how you can really argue against. Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah.
All right. These last two trophies, I think we should do together. Yeah. These are two different, basically, MVP trophies. There's the Hart Memorial Trophy and the Ted Lindsay Award. The Hart Memorial Trophy is voted by the NHL Writers Association, and the Ted Lindsay is voted by the NHL Players Association. Yes. So you could technically have two different winners, but a lot of years it's the same. Last year, Austin Matthews won both. This year, I think you and I are going to say the same thing. So I'm going to count 3, 2, 1, and let's say it. All right. First name and last name. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Connor McDavid. Yep. Okay. Absolutely. Yep. It's a clear win. It's clear win.
Look at the man. Look at the amount of points and what he's done. I think the Oilers are on a 6-game heater right now, going into the playoffs or something like that, which is exactly what you want to see. Teams that historically go into the playoffs ice cold are usually bounced pretty quick. Yeah. But again, look at what McDavid has done this year from a stats perspective, from a leadership perspective. I don't even think it's a competition this year.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
He is The second highest scorer on the Oilers is Leon Draisaitl at 123 points. McDavid has 148.
Yeah, I honestly, do you think he can make 160 by the end of this season?
There's 3 games left. 160 will be tough.
Yeah.
It'll be
155?
No. Because if he's smart, he's going to take it easy these next 3 games and rest for the playoffs.
You're right. Yeah.
So I think he'll hit that 150 mark. 2 points is easy for him.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't looked at who they're playing these last 3 games, but 2 points should be doable.
Yeah.
I'm sure if he wanted to, he could get the 160. I don't think he should. Save your energy.
You're right.
I want to see 5 points in round 1, game 1.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Makes sense. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, those are our awards. If you got your own contributions, your own predictions, your own hot takes, please let us know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Cool. Finishing it out here with a couple other stories. This one came out a few days ago. Ales Hemsky, who last played in the NHL for Montreal in 2018. He also played for Edmonton, Ottawa, and Dallas through his career. He came out talking about how he's been struggling with depression since ending his hockey career. He did have a concussion history.
Yeah.
But this depression, he said, was less about concussion and more about just, what do I do with the rest of my life? You know, he's in his late 30s and is retiring from hockey. And he's like, this was such a big part of my life, my whole childhood. And what do I do now? You know? Yeah,
I actually first learned about this through an article or an Instagram post. I can't remember. But he basically was talking about how he felt almost like it was affecting his just day-to-day life. Even as a father, he felt like a weird like resentment for his own kids because he was like, changing diapers and not having this sort of purpose. And he was also going back to the concussion thing. He was hiding his mental health problems behind a facade of, oh, I'm concussed. It's concussion issues basically, when he knew deep down it was the root of it was his mental health. And honestly, the most shocking part, I think, about all this is how under the radar this has gone. Sure, he's been retired since or hasn't played since 2018. So it's been a minute, but it's very, very odd to me that this has just kind of gone under the radar, especially in a league that is, trying to be better about, how mental health. And I don't think it's just I don't think just hockey has this problem. I think, as we've seen in the NFL or in other sports leagues, concussion problems that lead to mental health problems is hugely problematic amongst professional sports. What is your take on the way this is handled or how it should be handled? What are your general thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think, the support for these kind of players is a bit lacking, right?
Yes.
Like, why does he feel like he has to hide it behind a concussion problem or things like that why doesn't the leagues have support for this? This is not a nobody, right? This is Ales Hemsky who played for years in the NHL, over a decade in the NHL. How many players are there who also dedicated their lives to hockey, got maybe 1 or 2 games in the NHL, then had to retire?
Yeah.
How many of them feel like they've lost their purpose?
Yeah.
Why are there no support for this? I think it starts much earlier, right? It starts at, when these kids are, coming up through their junior leagues in Canada or through the collegiate system in America here, to have their skills developed for not just for hockey, but life after hockey as well.
Right.
And I don't know too much if NHL has anything. I haven't heard much if they have anything like that, And it'll be talking about mental health. It'll talk about maybe some financial management. We've seen issues like that across sports leagues as well. So I think this is just another story where it's pointing to the evidence that, hey, something needs to help these guys out.
Right. I believe that the NHL, possibly all 4 sports leagues, kind of need to set up a, not necessarily mandatory, but like a post-career retirement plan for players. Because you have to remember, a lot of these players, they have spent since literal childhood trying to get to this point where they are. Yeah. And, like hockey, in this case, hockey is all Ales Hemsky has known. Then he retired, has to be a dad, has to live a quote-unquote normal life. That's a big transition to make after you've been doing this for 3 decades.
And it's often a sudden transition.
Yes. All of a sudden you're playing hockey and next thing you know, you're done.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, whether you retired, whether you had a great career, whether you won, whether you injured, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's done suddenly, and that would mess up anyone.
Yeah.
Like, let's say, for example, we're on this podcast right now. We like creating content. We like, shooting podcasts. We like talking about hockey. What if that was all just gone like that?
Yeah.
You would struggle with that too.
Yeah, I got to find something else to build my identity around, right?
Yeah.
And that's tough.
Yeah, and it's really shocking, honestly, to see that there's just no resources, essentially, that the NHL or any other league, I can't really speak for any other league, but at least the NHL hasn't set up for these players. And if there is, it's clearly not doing anything, given that Alex Hemsky has opened up about this, it's clearly not helped him enough. So it's an issue that needs to be addressed, definitely.
Yeah, and this is another podcast, another set of fans asking for the NHL to support their players, man. They give you the prime of their lives, you know, and I think a little help with the rest of their lives is not that much to ask for.
My only possible counter argument to it, I guess you could say, is, do you feel like it's obviously we know mental health is still, there's a huge stigma around it. It's touchy, especially in the NHL. Do you think it's invasive to have a post-career retirement plan? Like, do you think it should be optional? Do you think it should be mandatory? How do you feel about that?
I think the resources should be there if you want them.
Okay.
This isn't exactly why things like the players union exists.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even have to be the NHL offering it. It can be the players union. Mm-hmm. But the players union, I think, is struggling to get some traction against the NHL. They haven't come out great out of the previous lockouts.
Right.
They just got the new head of the players union, Marty Walsh, this year. So let's see if they can get some traction there. But this seems like something that they should be able to handle, have resources to point to. I'm not even talking about money. I'm just talking about, hey, can he ask someone about, where do I go if I'm feeling like this? You know? Why is he hiding it, not talking to his wife about it?
Right.
Those kind of things, which aren't expensive.
Yeah. Right. Especially, and he himself has admitted, I've made good money from my career, but what happens when that passion, when that purpose is lost? And I don't think this even relates to just NHL players or athletes, or this relates to everyone, Mm-hmm. It's just how sudden that changes in hockey or in any sort of professional sports. There needs to be a proper transition period. Otherwise, it's going to create problems, at home or personal life. And it really needs to be addressed.
All right. Yeah. We're coming up here on the end of this episode. Before we head out, I just wanted to say a few things. We don't have to discuss this in depth, but I wanted to quote a few players here.
Yeah, totally.
We talked a few episodes ago about Pride Night and players deciding not to wear the jersey. And we had some quotes on what they said. I think I'd just like to take a second here to highlight some of the positive quotes that have come out in the week since about players in support of it. So just reading off some of these quotes here. The Blues did not wear the Pride jerseys on their night, but Braden Shen, a player for the Blues, came out and said, "You show up to the rink and you play and you support the Pride community and the gay community, and that's all you can really focus on. We support it. I support it. If the jersey's here, I'm wearing the jersey." Mm-hmm. Quinn Hughes in Vancouver on their Pride night. "We preach hockey is for everyone, and I certainly believe that it is. And if you say you believe in that, then you should be able to put the jersey on." Megan Dugan, who played for Team USA, had this in a session she led with the Toronto Maple Leafs, talking about why Pride Nights are important. Mm-hmm. It's difficult to understand inclusion if you've never been excluded, which I think is good perspective on all of this. And finally, Tyson Barrie, defenseman for Nashville. "I think it's an awesome initiative. It's something that's really close to my heart. I've got family members and best friends in the community, and there's a little bit of frustration on my end with what's transpired this year for everything. I think I know how hard it can be for people to come out and live their authentic lives, and I hope that none of the stuff that's gone on has pushed anybody back, any young kids who are thinking about it. So I'm just really, really excited that everybody on our team is going to participate." Mm-hmm. And that was in reference to Nashville, where all the players did wear the Pride jerseys. Mm-hmm. So just wanted to take a second to highlight some of the positive out of that story and kind of just follow up on that one.
Definitely, yeah. I really like the Megan Dugan quote, too. It's difficult to understand inclusion if you've never been excluded. I think a lot of times, a lot of reasons we have these issues I can't believe we're calling this a political debate, but, the fact that we're having these types of... this type of polarization for a topic like this is people simply aren't just understanding what it's like to be in someone else's shoes. Honestly, as soon as you just realize that there's a whole person out there who has faced a whole set of challenges that you've never faced, exclusive to them, and they just want to be a part of something that you have had the privilege to be a part of. It's really that simple. Yeah. I mean, just try to think what someone else has battled and be respectful and, include them into the game. There's no reason to just be hateful for no reason.
Absolutely. Well said. And I think on that note, we'll end this episode here. Thanks for listening along with us. Next week, we're going to be doing playoff previews as we're coming up on the last week of the regular season here. So thanks for joining. This has been Glass Seats. We'll see you next Saturday.
All right. Peace.